Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Going Rounds podcast. Happy start to the NFL season. I know everybody's probably watching the games right now. Wish I was too, but I got to do the pod. I can't miss it. And my team's not playing tonight, but I could be hanging out with the boys, watching the game right now over at Ray's house. But either way, cheers to you guys. Cheers to everybody watching the game right now. And if you got me on too, I appreciate that. And if you're watching later, well, good luck to your team this week. Week 1 of the NFL season. It's going to be a rough one for mine, I think. I don't know. I mean, there was a couple times where they looked okay on the preseason, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Too much wondering what's going to happen when Taylor's out and we don't have any real big names, so it's rough, but I stick with my team regardless. So, good luck to everybody out there on the first night of the NFL season. As for me, I'm here to talk some MMA. It's been a crazy ass day all around. Lots of drama, work drama, but that's all right. It's never ending with work, right? So that's always my gripe. I don't know. It could all be avoided if people would just let me work sometimes. But I guess when I'm in the position I'm in, I got to deal with some of the rest of the nonsense and stuff. So it is what it is. I'm here to let all that go and hang out for about an hour, hour and a half, sometimes two. Usually it's an hour and a half when I'm by myself. But we do have a lot to talk about tonight. We got a little recap of Dana White's Contender series earlier this week on Tuesday. A lot of decent fights, some unanimous decisions, but some TKOs and submissions. A lot of contracts handed out, so we'll discuss that. There's going to be some history being made this week for commentary in the booth for the UFC 293 event this weekend. We'll get into that. See what else. There's always drama when it comes to the Paul brothers, and of course, anything associated with the Paul brothers, there's drama. And I know a lot of it's manufactured sometimes, but this time we got Dillon Danis, who is a part of all of it, the instigator of all of it. Usually it's Logan Paul that likes to stir up trouble and give a lot of drama and bullshit, but this time I think he met his match a little bit. He might not know what to do with this one. So we'll get into what's going on with all that here in a few. And then, of course, we got UFC 293, big pay-per-view with, what do you call it? Championship belt. I'm sorry, I was forgetting the weight class. Middleweight championship this weekend, Saturday night. Israel Adesanya versus Sean, a little bitch Strickland. Not my favorite fighter. It is what it is. I got to represent my Colts too, by the way. It's my team. Since it's the first night of the NFL season. Let's see what else. Oh, and a little bit of a recap. UFC Paris. Some decent fights on that card last week. Some stuff we kind of figured was going to happen, happened. And, it wasn't the best card all the way around, just like this weekend coming up. Not the best card for a UFC pay-per-view, especially in Sydney. The main event came together kind of short notice as it was. And, yeah, the fight, Kai Kara France dropped out. And, just not a ton of big names. But it is what it is. It's a UFC pay-per-view. It's happening. It didn't get canceled, and we got a couple decent fights on there, so we'll get into that in just a few. But for now, we'll get started with some combat sports news as usual. It's what I like to get started with just because that's where the drama is, that's where the craziness happens, and I like to save the pay-per-view preview for the end just because that's what we'll be hitting first once we get off this podcast. Not right away. You know what I mean. This weekend, it's the biggest event, so I like to leave it for last. Let's get going. Combat sports news. Right off the bat, the history I was speaking of. Laura Sanko. Laura Sanko will be the first woman to be on the commentary team for the entire night for UFC 293. So first time on a pay-per-view. She's been on the commentary team for some fight nights and a couple other smaller events like that, but this is big to be on the pay-per-view. International cards, Joe Rogan's never there because he doesn't go international anymore. He keeps it all within the US, and he just sticks to those events, and that's how he works his schedule. It works better for him. So that leaves things open for other people to come in. You know, usually it's fighters that are either active or just retired or been retired, but a lot of times those gaps are filled with that. John Anik is a staple, always there, especially for the pay-per-views. DC has become that guy as well. And this time we have Laura Sanko. She tweeted or posted on X, whatever you call it now. She said, "I'm honored to join the commentary team for UFC 293 alongside John Anik and DC. Dream come true. Before I was an MMA analyst or competitor, I was often just like most of you reading this. Almost 20 years later, I'm here and excited to be a small part of connecting our incredible fan base to the fighting art of these amazing athletes. See you in Sydney." So, I don't know. I just thought it was pretty dope that she has made it from basically just being a backstage interviewer to an analyst on the desk to the commentary team on a fight night, and now all the way up to the pinnacle of what she was looking to do, which was become a commentator during live fights on a pay-per-view, some of the biggest events. So I think that's pretty dope. I enjoy her. A lot of people had a lot of not so nice things to say, but that always happens. There's the haters out there, you know. She's proficient in jiu-jitsu. She's fought in the cage before. She wasn't a fighter for the UFC, but she fought in Invicta, so she's had fights. And that's a lot more than some of these other guys can say. I mean, even John Anik is only practiced jiu-jitsu here and there. He's very good at his job. He's very good with his words, and he's a very good voice for the UFC, but he's never fought in the cage. DC, of course, is an ex-champ, double champ even, and a lot of the other guys that are doing commentary now, like Paul Felder and Dominic Cruz, people like that, they've all fought before as well, or are still fighting. And then you got Joe Rogan, who has fought before, just not in MMA, but he fought in Taekwondo, and he knows a lot about mixed martial arts in general. So, and we all know that he's a legend, and he'll always be a staple. As long as Dana White's in the UFC, he'll be there as well. But for those international cards, when they need a good person to fill in, Laura Sanko is definitely that. And to be the first woman commentator, it caters to a different crowd. You know, it puts that female voice in there. It makes way for the female fans to have something to connect to. And she's not hard to look at. She's easy on the eyes. She's hot as fuck. So if you follow her on any social media, you can. I see it all over TikTok, but it's on Instagram too. She'll break down moves for jiu-jitsu and all that, and it's fun to watch. It's interesting. It's knowledgeable. She knows what she's talking about. She knows what she's doing. But go in that comment section and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's nothing but, can I be next? You can triangle me. You can choke me out. Please mount me. It's just, of course, bunch of fucking dummies talking shit. I get it, you know. She's hot, blonde, beautiful eyes. She's got a body. Go check out her Instagram. You know what I'm talking about. But she's respectable in the area of expertise that she is in. So I give her props for that too. She's just not a pretty face. She has done a lot, and she's moving her way up, and she's gotten to what she considers to be the pinnacle of what she was aiming for. And I congratulate her. I applaud her, and we'll see how she does on the broadcast this Saturday for UFC 293 in Sydney, Australia. So good for her. Congrats. Cheers to Laura Sanko. Good luck this weekend. And don't listen to the haters. Everyone fucks up. Anik gets haters too. He's one of the best, and he catches a lot of shit for a lot of the things he talks about, like custody disputes and weird shit like that he brings up during the broadcast. So you're not alone, Laura. And he gets all kinds of shit too. DC gets all kinds of shit. People hate on Rogan. Everyone's a fucking hater, so who cares? Enjoy it, and congrats. So moving on from that, we got Conor McGregor receiving his black belt for jiu-jitsu. Of course, the haters came out on this one too, but I just wanted to acknowledge it because I didn't even know what belt he was. I honestly I knew he practiced jiu-jitsu. Everybody in MMA does. You're stupid if you don't. But not everybody believes in the belt system. Not everybody trains with a gi. Some guys have never put a gi on. No gi jiu-jitsu is like the popular trendy thing, but the guys that stick to the mainstays of the art always train in a gi, and McGregor's done both. So he was awarded his black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu from John Kavanagh, who's his main coach, has been for quite a while, after 20 years of training. So congrats to Conor. I mean, like I said, a bunch of haters out there talking shit. Khabib is like a white belt. He's one of those guys that doesn't care to train the way you need to become a black belt, but he's definitely got enough experience under him, and he choked out Conor, so people are talking mad shit. But it is what it is. Conor gets his black belt. He worked 20 years for it. It's not like he got it after 6 years like a lot of celebrities and fugazi ass motherfuckers do. He didn't do it that way. He trained his ass off. I hate on McGregor a lot too because he acts like a jackass and he does stupid shit. But I appreciate it when things like this happen, and he seemed truly honored, you know, to receive his belt. He was excited. He was happy, and you know, he's got all of his support there at the SBG in Ireland, and to get it from his coach like that, it was a special thing. So I know I hate on a bunch of shit too, and I'm an asshole and I talk shit, but you know, this is one of those things that I appreciate and I have respect for, and I commend him for sticking in there. You know, he talks a lot of shit about being the best at this and the best at that, but to put in the work for 20 years practicing this art in one of the many mixed martial arts, you know, he put in his 10,000 hours. He's a master, and he's got a black belt now to back it up. So to that, I have to congratulate him. Of course, well, before we get to that, this is something he tweeted. If you look back, down at the bottom left-hand corner of the white square in the middle, if you're watching this, it says 11/26 of 2013. He tweeted back then, "I just want 2 gold belts, a jiu-jitsu black belt, a Hall of Fame plaque, and 25 million in the bank. Is that too much to ask? Gym time." So that was a tweet from 2013. He's got all of that. I believe he has one of his fights in the Hall of Fame. He's destined to be a Hall of Famer regardless. He definitely had 2 gold belts, and I guarantee he was writing this because he was a double champ in Cage Warriors for 2 divisions, 2 weight classes. So he wanted to do that in the UFC as well, which he achieved. He now has a jiu-jitsu black belt after 20 years. So that was the last, you know, the last level that he was looking to get to, and he got it. And he definitely has 25 million in the bank, unless there's something we don't know. He got paid 100 million at least for fighting Mayweather. So maybe not 100 million. I don't remember. Maybe it was Mayweather that got that much. No, I'm pretty sure it was rumored that he got at least that much. I'm not sure. Who cares? Either way, he definitely has 25 million in the bank. He's got a Lamborghini yacht, for crying out loud. So he's not the best at being smart with everything he does and the way he carries himself, but I'm pretty sure he's got 25 mil in the bank. So he's achieved all of this, and if he doesn't have it now, he's had it at one point. So he's achieved everything he's set out to do, and this is why a lot of people wonder if he'll even come back and fight again, because there's so much up and down, and so many people are just doubting that he'll even be back to fight in MMA again, much less in the UFC. even though he's supposed to have a bout scheduled in December to fight Michael Chandler. That has not been confirmed. It's actually been announced by Dana White, pretty much, that it's not going to happen. So, but who knows? Things change on a whim. Things happen. But for now, Conor's going to continue to be weird, even with his black belt. I don't know what this is. I mean, he's wearing like a jumper or a romper, or maybe he saw the romper stomper video and decided he needed a romper of his own. The one that girl wore in that video, if you haven't seen it, some chick that helped her mom out. Her mom was getting jumped by 2 chicks, and she came out and kicked the shit out of both these girls, including face stomping this chick in the porta potty. It was pretty dope. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, you're probably living under a rock. But it's out there. The romper stomper, and I guess Conor wanted to fit in with that. He's got this fucking whatever this is he's got on with hearts all over it and pink. But he's got his black belt and his man purse. So I thought it was hilarious. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. Conor being Conor. But congrats to him on his black belt. I think it's cool that he stuck in there and he worked hard and he got that black belt. Congrats. But yeah, that's the Conor news for the week. Not much more going on there. Haven't heard much from him besides the black belt. Move on to some real drama. I know a lot of people don't care about this, don't want to hear about this, but the problem, I mean, not the problem. The thing about what's going on here is that Dillon Danis is a part of the MMA community. He's technically a Bellator fighter at the moment. He hasn't fought in MMA in I don't know how long. He's been set up to box multiple times, like against KSI and other people, and never showed up, you know, dropped out of the fight ahead of time, all this shit. So now he's scheduled to fight Logan Paul at the prime card, where KSI is fighting Tommy Fury on October 14th, I believe. If my mouse will work, I will confirm that. Yes, October 14th on DAZN in Manchester. That card is supposed to happen, and Dillon Danis is contracted to show up, or else he has to pay. If he bows out of this bout at all, he has to pay $100,000 to Logan Paul. Maybe he has that and doesn't care. I don't know, but it's gonna look real bad on him if he doesn't show up. So when it comes down to it, he needs to show up for this fight, and I'm hoping he shows up and kind of gets his ass whooped because he deserves it. But it would be funny to see Logan Paul get his ass whooped too. Dillon Danis is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He is a pretty high-level Jiu-Jitsu player. So his striking has never been something that he's been known for, but he says he can whoop everybody's ass all the time. So I'm ready to see how he's going to do in boxing. Logan Paul did okay against Mayweather. I mean, he doesn't really have the best record, but he can hang. So is that enough to get past Danis? I don't know. We all know all this already. Let's get to the real juicy shit, which is Dillon Danis is getting sued by Nina Agdal, who is Logan Paul's fiance. And this is because Dillon Danis is a fucking troll. And that's something else. That's something that we all knew as well. So he's the troll of all trolls. In a sense, Logan Paul is a troll as well on the internet. And this is what he's done all of his life. That's how he got popular. But he's getting a dose of his own medicine when it comes to Dillon Danis, because Dillon Danis is just not only a troll, but he's just a piece of shit. So he doesn't give a fuck about anything, and he's gonna hype this fight more than anything, because I think he actually plans on showing up, and I think he actually has the confidence to win. So I'm wondering if that's why he's trolling so hard, or he's trying to get Logan Paul to slip up somehow and wind up getting this fight canceled, or just scratching it all together. I don't know what he's trying to do, but he's been out there posting on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. He's out there posting all kinds of pictures of Nina Agdal, who is a supermodel, and she has quite the roster of exes, including celebrities, not celebrities, average Joes, I guess. Whoever the fuck half these guys are, I don't know. Dillon Danis is digging up multiple pictures of her and he's posting them, just being a troll. So now, after a few weeks of this, he's just trying to get under Logan Paul's skin. I don't think he gives two shits about how Nina Agdal feels about it. And I think he just knows that he's pushing buttons and that's what he wants to do. So he posted he's posted multiple pictures of her kissing dudes, flashing, talking about needing dick, talking about all kinds of shit that's just questionable, I guess. Paints her in a bad light. That's what he's doing. So Nina Agdal has now decided to file for a restraining order against Dillon Danis, and he is no longer able to post any more sexually explicit images of her online without facing serious consequences. Because according to legal documents, a New Jersey court has granted Logan Paul's fiance a temporary restraining order against Paul's upcoming fight opponent, Dillon Danis. It prohibits him from posting content in any way depicting or portraying the plaintiff, which is Nina Agdal, that defendant knows or has reason to believe was never meant to be shared publicly. Oh, portraying what the fuck? This is worded weird. I'm reading this from TMZ Sports. Who gives a shit? It's not I'm just reading off of it. Basically, whether it was meant to be shared publicly or obtained without consent through the hacking of any of the plaintiff's accounts or devices, or through any other illegal or unauthorized means. Which, the way that that's worded makes me think that Dillon Danis is going to find a way around this. He's going to find a loophole. I'm sure he has a legal team on it right now. Coincidentally and oddly enough, TMZ decided to post a picture of Logan and her, like, nose to nose, and her shirt is basically see-through. No joke. I mean, it's a black, like, long sleeve shirt, and I could basically see nipple. I don't get it. So it's like TMZ trolling right now too, because they're like, hey, we're gonna post some shit in the midst of this just to prove a point. I don't know. Either way, she also filed for a lawsuit, as well as requesting that restraining order because of all this bullshit. She said in her suit, she says she suffered humiliation, emotional distress, and reputational harm, alleging that one post Danis made on August 11th in particular violated federal and state law, because what I read was that what he posted, they tracked everything and wound up finding out that this was her Snapchat was logged in through an iPad mini or some shit, and she's like flexing on people, being like, I don't own an iPad mini, that's for poor people. And she's like, and then another login attempt or successful login was from an iPhone XS, and she's like, I had an XS Max, I'm not poor. So it's like she's just flexing while trying to talk about how there's no way that she had these logins, so she knows she's been hacked, and all of these things are coming out from it. So Dillon Danis is finding these somehow. I don't know. It's all funny to me. Yeah, so he's getting sued. He has a restraining order, and he's set to fight Logan Paul on October 14th. Will it happen? I don't know. Danis is claiming on X, on Twitter, whatever, that, this is Logan Paul's way of getting out of the fight, that he's going to cause the fight to be canceled due to legal bullshit. But I think Danis just knows that he's got to chill. I don't know if he will or not, but anyway, I thought it was all interesting. It's kind of funny, and it's just drama. So it's a part of what's happening with this fight, and I'm sure we'll get more coming up soon. We still have just over a month before this fight's supposed to happen. So we'll see what goes on between now and then. But for now, we'll move on to more legit things like Gamebred, Jorge Masvidal's organization, where he does bare knuckle boxing, bare knuckle MMA. and I think he does regular MMA as well in this organization. But yeah, Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA happening tomorrow night, September 8th. Let's see, where in Jacksonville, Florida. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Masvidal is a Florida guy, so for sure it's going to happen in Florida. But headlining, two former UFC title holders, actually, Junior Dos Santos versus Fabricio Verdum. And let me tell you, this is... there is no drug testing for this fight. I can tell you that right now. Because Junior Dos Santos is on all the Mexican supplements. and Fabricio Verdum, for sure, has gotten a little bit of a boost here and there somewhere. So, both of them are looking juicy because they're both ripped and cut and big right now, and neither one of them looked that way when they were in the UFC under that USADA testing program. So you know for damn sure, and I'm pretty sure Dos Santos has come out and said, hey, I get to do whatever I want, so I'm coming in looking good. And he does. I saw a weigh-in picture earlier. I was like, god damn, these fools look like reinvigorated. This is like the organization where you get everybody on the juice and we get to be entertained. They're like Major League Baseball all over again. Let's do it. When it comes down to it, it's tough because, you know, you got these heavily skilled and experienced guys in MMA going bare knuckle now, not even 4-ounce gloves anymore, straight up bare knuckle MMA, and they're both juiced to the fucking gills. And they're gonna beat the shit out of each other, so it could be entertaining. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's definitely gonna have some action, and I'm interested, man. So from what I understand, I still don't know where to even watch this. I'll be honest. I don't know where to watch it. Maybe I should look it up. But it doesn't, nowhere does it say where you can watch this. So there is other fights happening. Maki Pitolo, I've heard that name before, not exactly sure where. According to Masvidal, there's a few other guys that have been in the UFC as well. So Brandon Jenkins against Anthony Njokuani. Oh, Anthony Njokuani was definitely in the UFC. And I think Brandon Jenkins might have been as well. But, I forgot. Maki Pitolo is fighting Joel Bowman. That's the co-main event in the 185 division. Brandon Jenkins versus Anthony Njokuani, 170. Erwin Rivera versus Joshua Weems, 135. Those are the weight classes, by the way. They just have them listed as what the weight is. It doesn't say anything like bantamweight or anything like that. Ago Husik versus Brandon Davis in the 145. Yeah. I think that's it. Oh no, we got a few more, but I don't recognize any of these names, so I'm not sure who these guys are. But if you're interested, bare knuckle MMA, it's a newer thing. You know, we have bare knuckle boxing, BKFC. I covered that a lot. There hasn't been much going on with that, so I haven't really focused on it. But now we have bare knuckle MMA, and this is something that Joe Rogan has talked about, saying that he thinks that, you know, bare knuckle would be the better way to do it. But of course, the UFC is not going to do that. It's hard to get things sanctioned, but who knows? With all these outside organizations that are now developing these kinds of events, it might be something that'll be adapted or adopted by the UFC somewhere down the road, maybe. Who knows? But for now, Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA happening tomorrow night, Friday, September 8th. Find out where to watch it. I heard something about YouTube, maybe on the Gamebred YouTube channel. Shit, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to watch it. My bad. It's not easy to find, so we'll leave it at that. And we'll move on to something that's a little more easier to find. ESPN Plus. You can always watch this every Tuesday. 5 o'clock p.m. Arizona time is when it starts. That's Pacific. Eastern, it's 8 p.m. Wherever you are, figure it out. But Tuesday nights, Dana White Contender Series. This week we had five matchups. And yeah, they were pretty interesting. Pretty decent fights. As far as the contracts that were handed out, there was 5 contracts handed out. Barbosa, Silva, Budka, Sadi, and Ribeiro were the winners of the contracts. And let's just go through this a little bit. Ribeiro was a pretty exciting fight against, let's see, what's Brenson Ribeiro defeats Bruno Lopez by TKO by strikes at 3:47 of round 1. So a lot of the finishes that happened were in the first round, so that made it pretty interesting. These were light heavyweights, and yeah, Ribeiro did work, man. I was watching this just before I got on here, and it looked like this fool knows what's up. Lopez didn't look too bad himself, but Ribeiro was just outstriking him massively. Big heavy strikes, and yeah, he did work. Ground and pound, everything. In the end, he gets the win and the contract. So yeah, that's someone to look out for. Brent, it's Brendson. So Brenson Ribeiro. He's Brazilian. That's why it's it's not Ribeiro, it's Ribeiro. If you know what that's about, I don't know. It's just, and I hear the names being said, I say them the same way. Anyway, moving on to the next fight, which was also a TKO in the first round. Serhi Sadi defeats Roman Tavares by TKO via strikes at 2:26 of round 1. So this was just a bunch of strikes back and forth. Tavares got some on Sadi. It's hard. I'm not sure exactly how to say his name, but this was a pretty good fight back and forth. These guys went at it for sure. First round, 2:26. Pretty quick finish, but it was exciting from start to finish. And Sadi gets the win and the contract. So that's contract number 2. Every single fight, the winner got a contract on this card, which is pretty crazy. That happened the first 2 weeks though as well. I don't think the past few weeks has been as many contracts being handed out each night. The only thing about this one that I almost forgot was that Sadi got that. I think he landed like a straight right on Tavares, dropped him, jumped on him, ground and pound, and the ref jumped in fairly quick. I mean, Tavares looked like he was defending, looked like he was still there and still in it, and the ref jumped in. Even Dana White was like, what the fuck? But it was a decent performance, and it was exciting, and he did get a finish. So when it came down to it, Sadi still got the contract, even though Dana didn't agree with the stoppage. I think he knew it was gonna trend in that direction anyway, and Sadi was probably gonna get the stoppage regardless. So it was a pretty decent performance, and he gets the contract. Moving on to the next fight, middleweights. Dillon Budka versus Chad Honeycomb. I'm not exactly sure how to say that. This was a unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board, and Dillon Budka got the win. I didn't really watch this entire fight, but it looked like it was all right. It wasn't boring. There was good trades back and forth, as you can see here. Budka looks like he's definitely got some pretty heavy hands, and his strikes are fairly quick. Looks pretty decent, and he, went for some submissions here and there. uh picked up Hancom at one point in time and slammed him down, so he's got some wrestling and some grappling skills. So not a bad look, and he winds up coming out with a win and a contract. So it's good on him. These are always guys that you might want to look out for, guys and girls that you might want to look out for when they get the contract. Not everybody makes the most of it, but a lot of these, guys come up and have a decent career in the UFC, are still up and coming and still moving up the chain. We have two Dana White Contender Series alumni that have worked their way up and become UFC champions. The first one being Jamal Hill, and the second now being Sugar Sean O'Malley. So you never know when you got a champ in the making coming out of one of these Tuesday night fights. So that's why I like to watch when I can, or at least keep up with it and watch highlights and get the results and see who we got coming up and who might be in contention and who might just be an exciting fighter. So the next fight, we had Jean Silva versus Kevin Viejos. And Silva gets the win by unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board for that one. Viejos put up a fight, but in the end, Silva threw some good strikes, landing this nasty elbow here. Crazy jump kick, which that's pretty cool. That's a pretty dope picture. I mean, that's one of those ones. If I was him, I'd be like, that's a good picture to frame. And in the end, gets the win and the contract as well. Like I said, every single winner of every single fight got the contract. I don't know about that tattoo on his midsection there. It says Lord. It's a little strange. I mean, I get the religious aspect of things, but just to tattoo Lord with only the bottom portion colored, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that's about. I just noticed it. It caught my attention. A little strange. I had to bring it up. I don't know. It's there. But the last fight was the women. And it was a pretty good fight overall. These were, let's see, I don't know what weight class this was, but Dillon Barbosa defeats Rain Guerrero by submission armbar at 4:35 of the first round. So this was a first round finish as well, all the way at the end, 4 minutes and 35 seconds into the first round. Let's see, Diane Barbosa is a former Brazilian Olympian, dominated in the clinch and on the canvas to secure the victory to kick off week 5 at UFC Apex. So that was actually the first fight of the night. I went a little backwards, but whatever. Yeah, but she pretty much dominated on the ground. Submission attempt after submission attempt. In the end, she got the finish, the armbar finish, which was pretty nasty. Guerrero tapped fairly quick because that armbar was put in and cinched down easily and fast. So she comes out with the win and the contract as well. So congrats to all 5 of those fighters on getting the UFC contract for the week 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. I'll continue to cover that competition, the Tuesday night fights, every week until it's over. They do like seasons of it, so it's always fun to watch and see who might come up and come out of those any of these fights on Tuesday night and become a ranked fighter and then a contender and possibly even a champ. All of it's happened in the past. So moving on, let's get a little recap going of UFC Paris. Last Saturday's event happened about midday. Main card started at like noon Pacific time. Gane versus Sergey Spivak for the main event in the heavyweight division. And then we had a flyweight bout. Manon Fiorot versus Rose Namajunas. Rose Namajunas making her debut in the flyweight division, coming up from the strawweights. With her last fight being a loss to Carla Esparza to lose the flyweight title, unfortunately. It was a nasty stinker of a fight. It was uninteresting. It was boring. I hate saying that about somebody like Rose, but I don't know what she was thinking. Seems a little regrettable about the way she fought that night. But it is what it is. It happened. And now she's trying her hand at flyweight. Probably because she said that was probably her hardest weight cut ever at 115. So that just kind of pushed her towards moving up. But they did not go easy on her. It's probably one of those things where they're like, hey, we're gonna kind of punish her a little bit here for that nasty, annoying fight that she had last, where she lost the belt even due to the inactivity that was happening during that fight. Pretty shitty. And I was upset by that fight because I'm used to Rose being exciting. I'm used to Rose being entertaining, and just watching, like, some of the stuff that she's done in the past is insane. So for her not to show out or show up at all for that fight, and the fact that she kind of celebrated a little bit at the end of that fight, like if she thought she won, it was weird. And I know sometimes you gotta fake it till you make it, and sometimes you just don't make it, but that one was rough. So let's see, let's look at the undercard here. There wasn't a ton going on there. Submission, bunch of decisions, body kick and punches, KO. Oh, I'm sorry, that brings us all. The undercard was full of decisions except for one submission by arm triangle choke. That was Farid Basharat something against Clayton Rodriguez. Colin Lochrain was somebody a lot of people were talking about. Irish fighter, Ginger. Yeah, he's somebody a lot of people were talking about, and he lost unanimous decision to Taylor Lapulus. But that was in the bantamweight division. Unfortunately, he loses his debut in the UFC. But there's a lot of guys that have lost their debut in the UFC and come back and become contenders and possibly even fight for a belt at some point. So your first fight in the UFC doesn't set the record for what's going to happen for the rest of your career. But it was a setback, especially when you're highly touted. There's a lot of hype around you. People have a lot invested. And then you show up and don't really, do much in the fight. Kind of sucks. But let's move on to the main card. Morgan Charrier versus Manolo Zecchini. This was a pretty exciting fight. It ended in a KO by body kick and punches. Charrier, I think his name is. It's tough, man. He got the win there. But yeah, he was all over Manolo and basically landing punches, kicks, everything. Had that crazy pink hair. This is a pretty dope picture. Walking away after the TKO victory, or the KO victory. I'm sorry, they called it a straight KO. Body kick and punches, the nice way to win. And he definitely got the crowd hyped and was hyped himself. So it was a good way to start the main card off. But moving on to the next fight on that card, William Gomis, Gomis, Gomis. So it's not like Gomez, like Gomes. Obviously, he's not Mexican. He is French. So I don't exactly know if that's said a different way. But he fought Giannis Gamuri. All these names are tough. It's an international card. Don't hate me. But Gomis gets the win by TKO body kick, as you can see here, throwing kicks to the body. I don't remember if that was the finishing kick or not, but this fight was full of kicks coming from Gomis, whatever. Yeah, head kicks, body kicks, leg kicks. This dude's all about kicking, and he gets the win by TKO by body kick. So he definitely has some power behind those kicks, and they do well for him. So there's that. Let's go to Volkan Ozdemir versus Bogdan Guskov, who I heard a lot of stuff about Guskov, and there was a lot of hype around him as well, saying especially against Ozdemir, who, you know, seems to lose against guys that like have the same kind of skills as Guskov. And so a lot of people were doubting that Ozdemir would be able to hang with him, and that Guskov was going to have a really good UFC debut. But unfortunately, he did not. And he wound up losing by rear naked choke to Volkan Ozdemir. And yeah, Volkan got that. He took his back, mounted him, and sunk that choke in very fast. And Guskov did not take very long to tap. I mean, literally, Volkan got that under his chin. It was like Guskov was like, oh shit, it's definitely in there, and it's definitely deep. And he had his hand hovering right away. And as soon as Volkan started squeezing, he just tapped. He was done. So, not a great first outing for Guskov, but like I said before, your debut fight isn't always gonna, you know, a lot of guys start off in it like super exciting, super fun finishes in their first fight, and then go on to a career of nothing but decisions and boring fights, or, you know, vice versa. They start off with a loss, they get dominated, come back reinvigorated, and wind up, you know, fighting for a title or becoming a champ. So it happens. It's not a big deal. There was a lot of hype around him. Maybe he'll live up to it later down the road, or even in his next fight. But we'll move on to Benoit Saint Denis versus Thiago Moises. This was a good fight. Bloody fight. Violent. It was fun to watch. This is kind of where I picked up. I watched the end of the Ozdemir fight. Actually, it was the first round. I watched the whole Ozdemir fight. What the fuck am I talking about? The last fight I just went over, I actually watched the whole fight. I didn't get to start watching this until then, but I sat down and paid attention during the Ozdemir fight. Watched that one, and then I was watching this one, and this was an exciting ass fight. These guys were going back and forth. It was action all the way through. I mean, it went to 4:44 of the second round, but you know, for the whole first round and whatever was left of the second round that it took before the fight finished, I mean, they were back and forth, trading punches. But Saint Denis just looked like super dominant, landing everything, fucking violent. He looked like a world beater. So he's definitely somebody to watch and somebody to pay attention to as time goes on, because, you know, he had this nasty elbow here, some good ground and pound, and he gets the win by TKO by punches in the second round. So that's a good, exciting fighter to watch out for. Let me see real quick what his Jesus, his nickname is God of War. His overall record is 12-1, and I mean, all of his, it's a lot of finishes, submission, TKO, KOs, on everything except for he only has one decision on his record, and that's his only loss was by decision. So he hasn't even been finished. So he's a pretty exciting fighter. He is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's 4-1 in the UFC. And that's another one. First fight, his debut fight in the UFC was his first overall loss in MMA. But since then, he's been on now makes it a 4-fight win streak. And all finishes. 2 submissions, 2 TKOs. He's an exciting fighter. Somebody to look out for. Keep that in mind. And we'll move on to the co-main event of this fight. UFC Paris. One of my favorite fighters. Rose Namajunas versus Manon Fiorot, who is a fucking beast. And this was a tough matchup for Rose, especially making her debut in the flyweight. I mean, I'm sorry. Is it flyweight? Yeah, flyweight division, 125. First fight after that stinker of a fight where she lost her title in the strawweight division. And like I said, she said that she had a really tough time with that weight cut. She said she didn't want to be one of those fighters with sunken in eyes, the skeleton face, and she said that she was pretty close to that in that fight against Carla Esparza. So she decided to move up after a little hiatus, and she came back, and definitely more action in this fight. She definitely showed a little more of who she is. I don't think she did horribly, but I definitely don't think that it was an impressive showing for her first fight in 125. But Fiorot's a beast. It's hard to deny that. She's a lot bigger than Rose. She's definitely a lot stronger because of that size. So it's tough. It's tough for Rose to make her debut against somebody that big, but being that she's an ex-champ in a weight division lower, they're gonna give her a challenge. They're definitely gonna challenge her. And after that fight that she had last time, I feel like it's a bit of a punishment as well. They're like, hey, we're not gonna make this easy on you. Whether that much thought was put into it or not, I don't know, but it's something to think about. So Rose got hers in. You know, she got her strikes in, low kicks, punches. She definitely, I believe, dropped Fiorot at one point in time, or at least stumbled her. So she rocked her. And you know, everyone's just talking about how strong Fiorot is, and she's a beast. And Rose still went in there and showed what she can do with her technique, with her talent, with her experience, and her overall just shit, I totally lost what I was gonna say. Her overall talent is that's what I was getting at. I need another drink just to get the juices flowing again, I guess. No, but you know, she didn't look bad. It was definitely a lot better than her last fight. She even got that head kick in there. You know, Fiorot did block it, but either way, she did a lot more than she did in the last fight. She held her own. She didn't get completely dominated and embarrassed, but it was a clear win for Manon Fiorot. You know, she landed heavy punches and heavy strikes in general on Rose. She didn't open her up. She didn't rock her. She didn't stumble her. I'm just like putting words together now. But she, like I said, it was an impressive win. She looked good. She kept up what has been said about her, which is she's a great fighter. She's a beast. She's strong. She has heavy punches and she has good strikes. And she did all that against Rose. At one point in time in the fight, they clashed heads. So that's where any of the blood you saw in any of the previous pictures was from this. No, I don't think anybody else got bloody. Maybe Rose got a little cut here and there on her face near the end. But a lot of the blood that you saw came from this clash of heads. Fiorot bumped heads with Rose. Rose hit like the front portion of her head right here against Fiorot as she was going in. You know, it's just one of those things. They both moved in the opposite direction at the same time as they're trying to punch, and they just clashed heads. There was like no warnings. There was no penalties or nothing. It was a complete accident. They stopped the action for a minute, checked on the cut. Fiorot just kept bleeding throughout the rest of the fight. I think that happened in the second round, early in the second round. It was about a round and a half of her being completely bloody like this, but it didn't have any effect on her fighting. You know, she landed again big strikes on Rose, but look how big her arms are. She's just such a bigger person. I don't know if Rose can hang with people that are that big in the flyweight division, being how small she is. But I said it last week, she's beaten big opponents when it comes to Weili Zhang, who everyone said was untouchable, and Rose beat her twice. Once by head kick knockout, and the second time I think she was just in her head and dominated her to a decision win. She beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who a lot of people said was untouchable. She beat Jessica Andrade, who's a big, heavy not heavy, but a big, strong fighter for the flyweight division. And, you know, she may have gotten dropped on her head at one point in time by her, but she still beat her regardless. So yeah, she's done a lot. But some of what hindered her in this fight was in the first round, she actually broke her finger. In between the first and second rounds, she went to sit in her corner, and the first thing she told her coach slash boyfriend, Pat Barry, was, "I think I broke my finger." And Pat just said, "Listen, you don't need your finger. You need to stay focused on this fight," and pretty much just disregarded the whole thing. Which, you know, that's kind of what you got to do. Keep them in the right mind frame, not focusing on the negative stuff, being cautious about things, but also not worrying about the small stuff. Which I saw some TikToks and some other stuff on social media about people saying that was kind of insensitive. What if that was really dangerous? And there's even a doctor that went on and was like, "Listen, Pat Barry was right. You don't need your fucking finger." Like, and it's not even broken. Actually, I even misspoke. It was actually just dislocated. Rose went online. I think she was on Instagram. Probably blocking myself from talking correctly in the mic. I got an itch. Got an itch right on my shoulder, and it's killing me. She went on an Instagram live and talked for a little bit about the fight and about things that were happening. And one of the things she said was that her finger wasn't broken, it's just dislocated. But if you're watching this and you're seeing this picture right now, it's fucking gnarly. Like, her finger looks horrible. Obviously there's swelling. If it's dislocated, then it looks deformed. So yeah, I'm sure we've all jammed our finger and it's looked like shit before. That's what's happening here. But you can see here, like I was talking about in the Instagram live, I took a little screenshot because, you could see the damage on her face. She's got 2 black eyes. Her right eye has a little mouse under it. She's got a cut on her forehead above her right eye as well. And you can see the splint on her finger. So, yeah, Manon Fiorot hits hard. That's really all there is to it. And, Rose took it like a champ, as usual. And, Fiorot got the best of her. And a lot of people were talking about the fact that Trevor Whitman, her normal, boxing, striking coach, who's usually her head coach in the corner, wasn't there for this fight. And apparently it's because I guess they're having a bit of a spat. Something that has to do with Justin Gaethje and his BMF title fight that he had. I guess she said she wasn't in the best head spaces and didn't want to bring everybody down in the gym while there was a big fight like the BMF title on the line for Gaethje. So she didn't want to bring everybody down. She said that she just kept to herself, but I guess she did say that, it was a little fight about this. So I guess they are at odds, but I'm hoping that they fix all that because Trevor Whitman is kind of a genius. He's one of those guys for, I think all of last year or the year before, I can't remember which one it was. He had so many champs coming from his camp, or he was a part of coaching a lot of champions, and he's a great striking coach, and I think he was good for her. And Pat Barry's a great coach and a great person with a lot of experience as well. But I just think that she needs that Trevor Whitman kind of aura in her corner. And they have such a big history. I think that they need to resolve all that, get back in there as a team. And I believe that she'll come back and do well in the flyweight division, regardless of how big the opponents are. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping for the best for Rose. But for now, she suffered that loss. She's okay. She's not in too bad a condition after the fact, and I'm sure she'll be back. Let's move on to the main event of that fight, UFC Paris last weekend. Ciryl Gane versus who the fuck was it? One of the Sergey Spivak. Yeah. I don't know why the fuck I completely spaced. I'm looking at him, but there's 3 Sergeys all in the heavyweight division. Sergey Spivak, Sergey. Oh, fuck. He's fighting. Oh, shit, I don't remember. Anyway, just making fun of myself here for forgetting. But Ciryl Gane versus Sergey Spivak. This was not much of a fight. Ciryl Gane came out fucking ready and looking to win. That's basically, he was on a mission. Sergey Spivak just looked flat. Looked like he didn't even know what to do with it. It looked like Gane did in the fight against Jon Jones. But I truly believe that Ciryl Gane was coming out wanting to make up for that fight. I think he felt embarrassed about what happened against Jon Jones. So he was like, I'm going to make an example of my next opponent. I don't care who it is. He got Sergey Spivak, and he did just that. The strikes were just everywhere, all over the place. Domination. I mean, it did go to the second round, but he got the TKO by punches. As you can see here, punch after punch getting landed. Sergey Spivak didn't know what to do, basically. He was just overwhelmed and outstruck and just out-talented by Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane came out looking like what everyone talks about when it comes to him. Athletic, fast, moves well for, you know, he's a heavyweight who moves like a middleweight. All those things. That's what he came out doing. That's how he came out looking in this fight. He definitely wanted to bounce back with an exclamation mark, and he did that. So, knee to the body, a lot of body shots, a lot of dynamic strikes. You know, he showed his athleticism as usual. And yeah, in the end, TKO by punches in the second round. Ciryl Gane with the win. And who knows, maybe he's just going to try to make his way in quick fashion, too, if he keeps it up like this against anybody else that he can fight. Anyone else he can face has to watch out, because if he comes out in the same fashion that he did for this fight, he's definitely on his way back to trying to get that win or make up for that loss against Jon Jones and get that title. But that's if Jon Jones sticks around long enough, because you know, there's all these rumors and theories that Jon Jones and Stipe are both going to retire, win or lose for either side. Double retirement in November when they fight for the title. But we'll see. So Ciryl Gane's definitely going to try to make his way back to get a win, get that loss back from Jon Jones. And if not, at least prove that he's a better fighter than he showed in that fight. Because it was kind of embarrassing. It was fast, and he looked like a child trying to beat up his dad, and it didn't work. So let's move on now. This weekend's fight, UFC 293. Israel Adesanya. I'll try to be respectful for a little bit. Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland for the middleweight championship. And Tai Tuivasa versus Alexander Volkov in a heavyweight co-main event. Tai Tuivasa, always exciting. Win or lose, you're going to see a finish. Almost always when it comes to Tuivasa. Alexander Volkov is a tough opponent for him. But, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for a good fight here. These are the best fights on the card by far. Not too much else underneath this. Maybe one or two here and there that might be, you know, exciting or entertaining. But then again, I mean, this is just an assumption. A lot of times when they're fighting internationally and you've got a card full of guys that are from that area, they want to show out for their hometown and get a lot of good fights when that kind of shit happens. So I'm looking forward to it. Regardless, you know, I love these pay-per-views. You always hope for the best out of all of them, especially when you're paying fucking $80 for $80 for the event every month. It's tough, man. Ugh, sometimes I'm like, I could do a lot with the money I spend on all of these fights, but it's an investment. for my own sake, even when I wasn't doing this podcast, I was buying every single fight. It was fun to get people together, come over, even if they're not really watching the fights. We're hanging out, having a good time. It's a good way to get friends together. I miss the big UFC nights I used to have back in the day, and if you know me and you were a part of those or ever came to them, you know what I'm talking about. We always had big gatherings, big parties for UFC nights. You know, had its fair share of drama and bullshit, and not so much fun nights, but more than anything, I met a lot of people. I had fun and got to party and with and just enjoy the company of a lot of great people. So I miss those days when a lot of people would come over and bring over new people and we would have fun. I don't miss the cleanups. I don't miss the preparation. I don't miss having to entertain all the time, but it's still fun regardless in the end. And yeah, it's just one of those things. It was a good time. But I still have people over. We still watch the fights, but I get to pay attention a little more now because it's not so hectic. Okay, I don't know is the name of the person in the chat right now, which is cool. I appreciate you joining in. If Tuivasa wins, who's next? I don't know, because Tai is one of those streaky fighters. You know, he's coming off a couple losses, and you know, he lost to Cyril Gane, he lost to Sergey Pavlovich. But I really, I mean, your name says it all. I don't know if he beats Volkov. Fuck, I really don't know who would be next for him, because he's, like I said, 2 losses in a row. He beats Volkov, who is coming off of 2 wins in a row. It's a toss-up, man. They can give him anybody in the top 10 pretty much, because he's not gonna get a title shot until he shows and proves that he can win a few more fights than a couple. He was on a good win streak there for a minute. He had what, five wins in a row. The last one being against Derek Lewis, and then he lost to Cyril Gane and Pavlovich. Curtis Blades, yes, that's a good assumption. Because Curtis Blades is up there and hasn't fought in a minute, right? I mean, it's been a while since Curtis Blades fought, and he is but Blades is probably waiting for something to be done with the title and see what happens with John Jones versus Stipe, because of all of the assumptions that, or all of the thoughts that maybe that's going to be a double retirement. So we'll see what happens with that, because the heavyweight division is weird. Unless John Jones commits to staying, like sticking around, I don't know what's going to happen until they fight, and then we'll see who retires. Or else Jones sticks around, lets everybody fight it out for the #1 contender spot, and he finds somebody who hasn't fought yet to, you know, defend the title against. But I guess looking at the heavyweight rankings, let's see. I want to see who's in the rankings, because I do not recall off the top of my head. Let's see. Flyweight, no. Heavyweight, where you at? Heavyweight. Cyril Gane, Pavlovich, Miocic, Aspinall. See, I think Tom Aspinall's waiting to see what happens with that fight as well. But Curtis Blades, Tai Tuivasa. Yeah, because Blades is right above Tuivasa, so that would be a good fight. I don't think that's a good fight for Tai, though. I think Tai Tuivasa is not good when it comes to a wrestler, grappler type like Curtis Blades, where that's what he specializes in. Tai is not one of those guys. Tai wants to bang it out. So when it comes to that, it's gonna be tough. Aspinall champ in 2024 UK fighters next year gonna show. Hey, that's definitely a good assumption, a good prediction. Tom Aspinall is definitely talented as fuck, and I think that he's one of those guys that has all the potential to become a champ, but not if Jon Jones is there. If Jon Jones sticks around, I don't know that anybody in the top 10 right now can touch him. I would say Curtis Blades and probably Aspinall are going to be the two that give him the biggest competition because of Blades and his... But see, Curtis Blades, man, what is he... Sometimes what he does is he folds against the higher competition. You know, he just... If his takedowns aren't landing and his... Yeah, just if his takedowns and grappling aren't working for him, he kind of gives up and puts himself in a bad position and gets caught. That's just kind of what happens with Blades. So that makes me very cautious about saying that he could be the next champ. I think Tom Aspinall has the best chance right now. He's ranked number 4, right under Miocic. Pavlovich is tied for number 1 with Cyril Gane. That's strange. I did not think that that's the way that was happening. But I guess with this win against this last win for Gane probably did it for him. So anyway, yeah, that's I got off on a tangent, but I don't know on YouTube. That's his stream name. Asking questions, interacting. I appreciate that. And it, you know, it makes me think, and I like that. Good interaction. So thanks for that. Let's move into the main card. Oh wait, let's look at the undercard first. Who do we got down here? No real big names that are real well known. Landon Quinones versus Nasrat Haqparast. That should be a good fight in lightweight. Jamie Malarkey versus John McDessie. McDessie puts it all out there. You know, got his jaw broken at one point in time. And Malarkey's a pretty exciting fighter as well. So that should be a decent one. Oh, Jack Jenkins versus Jose Mariscal. Jack Jenkins is pretty interesting guy. Entertaining. I've been seeing a lot of stuff about him recently. So that could be a decent fight at featherweight. Yeah. And then we get to... Oh, and then Carlos Olberg versus Dawoon Jung at light heavyweight. Carlos Olberg, man, 8-1. He's a pretty exciting fighter as well. This dude looks like a beast. The Black Jag is his nickname. Coming from New Zealand. He is on a 4-fight win streak right now. Only has 1 loss in the UFC against Kennedy and Zechiku. He's a Dana White Contender Series alum. So that's one to look out for. That's at the top of the prelim card, right before we get to the main card. So now we'll get into the main card. Tyson Pedro versus Anton Turkalj. I believe that's how you say his name. Tyson Pedro's 9-4 versus Turkalj, 8-2 in the light heavyweight division. Tyson Pedro, Australian, coming off a loss to Modestas Bukauskas, February of this year, unanimous decision loss. And then before that, he was on a 2-fight win streak, though. I mean, you never know what you're gonna get with Tyson Pedro. He's a great fighter, good striker, but he's one of those streaky guys who, you know, wins a couple, loses a couple, wins one, loses one. Back and forth. He's a good fighter, a good name. You know, you recognize that name when you hear it, but he doesn't put a lot together. But he still doesn't have a ton of fights. 9-4 overall. You know, he's got a long ways to go. Against Anton Turkalj, the Pleasure Man. Now, I heard there's a story behind this. I don't know what that fucking story is, but this dude, his look is something else, especially in this picture I'm looking at now. But you can see there he's got the little man bun on top. The Pleasure Man. He doesn't look like a dude that would be called the Pleasure Man, but I don't know. It's just funny as hell. He's from Sweden, 8-2 overall, coming off of 2 losses in the UFC. Jalton Almeida and Vitor Petrino. Jailton Almeida is about the only name I know off of his record. But he's 0-2 in the UFC right now, coming off, or he's he was on the Contender series in 2022. Tyson Pedro sub incoming. Hell yeah. I could see that happening because, yeah, this dude is on a losing streak, losing by submission to Jailton Almeida and then by decision to Vitor Petrino. So I definitely am going with Tyson Pedro myself because Turkali is just not looking like someone who is ready to get in there and get that win, especially against Pedro. But like I said, he's streaky. He's coming off a loss, though. I think he's due for a win. I think I'm going with Pedro as well. So let's move on to this one's pretty interesting. Justin Tafa versus Austin Lane. Hey, I don't know. Are you from Australia or New Zealand or something? Seems like you're going with all the hometown fighters here. But so in that case, I would say you're probably going for Tafa. But yeah, Justin Tafa versus Austin Lane. This is a rematch due to their last fight being a no contest where Austin Lane poked Justin Tafa in the eye. It was a accidental eye poke, but it was a pretty nasty one. And that was back in June. So Justin Tafa has not fought since then. I don't think Austin Lane has fought since then as well. No. So Austin Lane, former NFL football player. I think he played with the Rams. I think he was only like 5 years in or something like that. But his let's see. Tafa is 6-3, coming off that no contest against Austin Lane, like I said. But Tafa's got really, really heavy hands. Big dude in the heavyweight division, and he always comes to scrap. A lot of his fights are by wins by finishes. His losses are by decision. He only has one KO loss. His other 2 losses are by decision. Tafa? OFC. What is OF? What the hell? Oh, you're from UK. All right, cool. Got you. Let's see. Oh, I lost my spot. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah. So he's on a 2-fight win streak. Got that no contest. Against Austin Lane, former NFL football player. He is 12-3 overall, coming from the Dana White's Contender series. So that was his debut fight in the UFC for with that no contest. So that kind of sucks that your debut you wind up with the eye poke, which it's unfortunate. It happens though. You know, here's the eye poke. It was pretty nasty, pretty deep in there, but you could tell. I mean, if you watch the whole sequence of what happened, it was definitely accidental. It was just in the transition of, grappling there. Defense poked him in the eye, but it was a pretty nasty outcome. Tafa couldn't open his eye. Looked like a pretty nasty gash. The next day, he showed a picture as well on social media. It looked pretty bad. So that was a shitty way to end that fight. It was a pretty good fight coming through, though. Austin Lane was showing some decent strikes. Yeah, I think he got a nasty body kick in on Tafa. But, Justin Tafa is one of those guys where just in a second, he can just turn everything around and knock you out. But Austin Lane is pretty athletic, being an ex-NFL player. And I feel like this could be a really exciting fight. It could end quickly, or it could be drug out a couple rounds and still end in a finish. I feel like there's going to be a finish, though, no matter what, in this fight. I would say I'm going for Tafa as well. I do like Tafa a lot. And I just talked about his brother, Junior Tafa, last week, I think. But I am thinking Tafa gets that win. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next. Oh, shit. Next fight. Manel Kape versus Felipe Dos Santos. Manel Kape is on fucking fire right now. I don't know if anybody watched that press conference yesterday, last night, this morning, whatever. I don't know exactly when that took place, because I just saw the videos this morning and I was like, what the fuck? Manel Kape is fired up because he was supposed to fight Kai Kara-France, and Kai Kara-France wound up having to bow out of this fight. Basically, I don't know if he had an injury or what, but he definitely like withdrew from this fight. And Manel Kape was talking mad shit at the press conference because he saw Kai Kara-France sitting in the front row, and I mean, it got heated. Like, Manel Kape was talking mad shit, calling him a pussy, calling him a bitch, telling him he wasn't shit. He threw a fucking empty monster can at him, shades of Conor and Diaz during with the water bottle throwing and shit. But and then Adesanya got in the mix because obviously Kai Kara-France is his homie, his training partner and teammate, and Adesanya was like, look at this fucking midget over here, somebody needs to tell him to sit down. But Kape was not backing down, talking mad shit, yelling at him, standing up to him. So it was entertaining. It was funny because Kape is like 2 inches shorter than Adesanya or more. I don't know. He looks so small compared to him, but that shit was funny. But yeah, this is a fight against Felipe Dos Santos, who's making his UFC debut. So there's not a lot. I couldn't find a lot on him. Manel Kape, though, coming from Dana White's Contender Series, I think. Wait, no, I'm sorry. I saw those shorts and I just assumed. Definitely not a Contender Series guy. Sorry. Started off his career in the UFC, though, with 2 straight losses, and then came back and wound up with 3 on a 3-fight win streak now. Ode Osborne, David Dovrak, Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Fuck, I can't say these names. But yeah, he's got 3 wins in a row, 3-fight win streak against Dos Santos, who is making his debut in the UFC, but he is an undefeated fighter, 7-0 overall in MMA, from Brazil. Yeah, his last fight being in the LFA. So there's not a whole lot on Dos Santos. I couldn't find a whole lot on him as far as pictures and footage of him. But I mean, I've heard a couple people talking about him being a decent opponent for Manel Kape. So we'll see where that goes. Moving on to what could be my favorite fight of the night. I like Israel Adesanya a lot, but I really like Tai Tuivasa. Especially the people that don't know me in here. I don't know from YouTube. Maybe you're from the UK, bro. But I had somebody from the UK tell me that I look like Tai Tuivasa. I think it's funny. I guess I could see it in the face wise. I don't know. I mean, I'm a big dude too, but he's definitely the talented one. I'm not Kape second round KO. All right, I got you. I don't know. I'm gonna be looking at all of these predictions from you, and we'll see how they pan out. But yeah, Tai Tuivasa is a cool motherfucker, man. I love this dude. I think he's cool as hell. I don't know why. I always favor the guys who may not be the most talented, may not be the fucking GOAT, but I like these guys. So I can't help but to like Tai Tuivasa. He's funny as hell, and yeah, he's just one of those down-to-earth dudes. So he's definitely my favorite, and definitely who I'm rooting for here against Alexander Volkov in the co-main event heavyweight title fight. I mean, not title fight, I'm sorry. I was looking at the Adesanya fight. Heavyweight bout for the co-main event. Tai Tuivasa, big puncher, always exciting. Bam Bam, 14-5 overall. Coming off of 2 losses, though, to Ciryl Gane and Sergey Pavlovich. As I said earlier, that's a compliment. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure, no doubt. It's definitely a compliment. Obviously, there's always a delay when it comes to me speaking live and the video going out to YouTube, so I see the comments a few seconds later, but I'm sure that's what he was talking about. But yeah, Tai needs this win, man. He's coming off of 2 losses. Unfortunately, he seems to fold against certain opponents that are, I don't want to say bigger names, I just want to say maybe, oh man, I don't even know how to say this. Not more talented, I don't know. Just different types of fighters, I guess. Ciryl Gane is just very athletic, but we can't forget, well, let's go through this. I mean, he made Greg Hardy look horrible, but that's not hard. Greg Hardy wasn't the best of fighters. All of his wins are by PKO or KO. Even his losses. That's why he's exciting, because no matter what, he's either winning or losing by a finish. So, but yeah, let's not forget that he dropped Ciryl Gane in that fight. So, he may have come back and wound up losing the fight by KO, but he did have the talent and he did have the skill to drop somebody like Ciryl Gane. And I just feel like he doesn't capitalize on those moments as much as some of these other guys do. It's almost like he stands back and takes a picture, as almost like what it looks like in this picture. So I think Tai just needs to hone his skills a little more and just get some better takedown defense, man. And maybe just defense in general. But for the most part, I think he's a great fighter. I think he has a lot of potential, and he's a great personality. That's for goddamn sure. So he could be very popular. He could be like a Diaz brother, where people love him for what he stands for and the way he carries himself and the entertainment aspect of everything. But when it comes to fighting, maybe he needs to just sharpen it a little bit. But you can't beat the fucking Shoey. So I'm looking forward to him getting this win over Volkov and potentially getting that Shoey, because they're in fucking Australia. There's no way you can't. He's going to do a Shoey in the cage. He's going to do a Shoey out of the cage. And he's going to do a Shoey as he walks his way back to the back. Hopefully nobody puts any fucking hot sauce in it this time, though, because that was horrible. I don't know how the fuck. I don't know why somebody would do that. It's fucked up. But he took it in stride like a G, like the G that he is. I like Tai Tuivasa, as if you couldn't tell. So I'm hoping he gets this win over Volkov, but Volkov is a fucking beast, and he's definitely talented. 36-10 overall. Russian fighter, nicknamed Drago. Go figure, right? Coming off of two wins. Darzinho Rosenstruck versus Alexander Romanov. So 2 pretty big names. He does have a loss to Tommy Aspinall, but I mean, that's Aspinall. He's a beast as well. And he's lost to Ciryl Gane. Both these guys only losing to big names. He lost to Derek Lewis too. That Derek Lewis fight was nasty. I mean, he was on top, beating the shit out of Derek Lewis, and then Derek Lewis just turns around and knocks him the fuck out with one punch. That was crazy. And but I mean, like I said, he was dominating. I mean, landing everything, making Derek Lewis look bad. And then Derek Lewis just comes out of nowhere with one punch and knocks him the fuck out. And Volkov gets that loss. But he's beaten people like Alistair Overeem, Marcin Tybura, a lot of big names. So he's talented, and it's going to be a tough fight for Tai. I just hope it's entertaining. And I would love to see Tai get a win in Australia. Excuse me. Oh, man, I got the hiccups. But I'd love to see him get that win in Australia. Doing shoeys left and right. It'll be the shit. And he'll be hyped. And it'll be good. So, let's get it, Tai. And, yeah. Now we move on to the main event. We got Israel Adesanya versus the clown, Sean Strickland. I don't know about you. I don't know. I keep saying I don't know because I don't know in the chat. That's his name. I don't know. Her name. I'm not sure if you're male or female, non-binary. I don't want to offend anybody, but whoever you are in the chat, I don't know. I don't like Sean Strickland. So that's why I say the clown, because I feel like he's a clown. And I feel like this is going to be maybe not an easy fight for Izzy, but I definitely think it's going to be a fairly simple fight. I don't know, says, you think Derek Lewis still has a future at the top of the division? I'm going to say if he gets the right fights, yes, I think he has a path to possibly fighting for the title again. But even if he does get another title fight at some point in time, if he doesn't win, it's over for him. But it's not going to be easy. But if you notice, if you pay attention and you follow anything, he has been getting in shape. He seems a lot more serious about being in shape and getting his cardio up. It just seems like he doesn't like to get hit. So that's my biggest thing with him, is that if he gets hit and then has to grapple, it's over. Like, he gives up. But if he builds up that will to not give up on something just because he doesn't like what's happening, I feel like he does have a path to become the champ, or at least fight for the championship again. But if he doesn't overcome that mental instability of, hey, I'm in a bad position and I don't like it, so I'm going to just give up. If he can't get over that mental hurdle, then I don't think he's got much to offer the top of the division. And I feel like he needs to just take fun fights. But he says he's there just to cash a check, and the only way he's going to get that big check is if he starts winning these big fights against the bigger names. But he's a beast, and he's the Black Beast, so you never know what can happen. Just like in that fight against Volkov, one punch knockout power takes you a long way in a lot of aspects of the game. So you can be entertaining and you can be fun, but it's a tough game to play in the heavyweight division. So I like Derek Lewis a lot, though. He's another one of those guys. It's a real big character. He's hilarious. You can't help but love one of his post-fight fucking interviews with Joe Rogan. They're always the shit. So I like seeing him. I hope he sticks around a little longer just for the entertainment aspect. But I would love to see a guy like that get a title shot and win one day, even if he drops the title right away after that. He's just a good guy, and I like him. So anyway, that's my long-winded answer to that one. Back to the main event, Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. Ah, man, if you've watched this show before, you know I don't like Sean Strickland. I can't believe this fight is happening. It was supposed to be Israel versus DDP, Drickus du Plessis, or as Izzy calls him, Dickless du Pussy. That's right up my alley. That's the kind of shit I say. It's pretty funny. But this was the fight that was supposed to be made. Oddly enough, DDP didn't want to take the fight because he said he had some nagging injuries and it was too quick of a turnaround. And that's strange that they didn't make him fight like they made Aljamain Sterling fight for the title, of all things, against Sugar Sean O'Malley only a couple months after he just defended the title against Henry Cejudo. Makes him turn around quickly. Basically doesn't give him a choice. They just announce it without telling him. And he has to take the fight. Like, what is that? But yet DDP doesn't have to take a fight where there's massive heat in this rivalry here. You know, the racism, the just vitriol with the beef that's going on between these two, and you don't think that that's entertaining enough to force this motherfucker to fight, but you'll force a champion right now who has defended multiple times and has been there to be an active champion, and you want to force him to fight a couple months after he just defended his title, just because you have somebody like Sean O'Malley who brings in all the younger audience and is popular. UFC is kind of fucked up. if you ask me. Especially when Izzy wanted that fight. That was the fucking fight he wanted, but you don't grant him that fight. And Izzy says, guess what? I want to fight on the Sydney card regardless. Give me the next person in line. In my eyes, that's Sean Strickland. UFC's like, oh shit, Sean Strickland. That's controversy. That guy says a lot of crazy shit. Okay, I guess we'll give it to him. I don't know, man. This is so fucking weird. I don't understand the UFC, but I feel like this would have been a bigger fight had this been the fight. Just because of the heat between these two. And I want to see if Izzy takes it out on him. And I want to see if DDP has what it takes to hang with Izzy. I don't know. But either way, it's not happening. So we get Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. Adesanya, you know, coming off that title win over Alex Pereira, where he gets his title back after losing it to Pereira, not Pereira. I forgot. But you know, you're always gonna get exciting fights with Izzy, except for when he fights Yoel Romero. The Anderson Silva fight wasn't that exciting either, but most of the time you're gonna get excitement out of Izzy. Lots of strikes. He's a great striker. You know, his one downfall is his grappling, wrestling. And we saw that against Jan Blachowicz when he went up to light heavyweight to try to fight for that title. And, you know, he does have a little bit of a crutch he's at a little bit of a detriment when it comes to the ground game. But a lot of times you can't really get him down. He's got good takedown defense, and you know, he's usually kicking you or punching you or kneeing you before you can even get to the point where you can get him down. So Izzy is a badass. He's a legend. He's one of the best. A lot of people are saying he's better than Anderson in Anderson's prime, but I'm not sure. I don't know says no middleweight can hang with Izzy at the moment other than maybe Khamzat. And I think you're right with that. Khamzat is one of the guys that is a fucking heavy grappler, very talented when it comes to the ground game. But I feel like he also puts a lot into his striking. So I'm not sure that... I feel like he would try to beat Izzy at his own game, because Khamzat's one of those guys that's like, I'll do what I want with you. And he'll be like, oh, I'm going to beat him at his own game. And then Izzy might get the best of him. But if Khamzat decides to play that wrestling, grappling game, Izzy might be in trouble, because Khamzat is a fucking beast and he's strong as fuck. That Dagestani type style is difficult to overcome. But when you're as talented as Izzy, it might not matter. So I don't know. Jan Blachowicz was just so much bigger and so much stronger than Izzy. So it's tough to say whether or not, you know, someone in the middleweight division can actually do to him what Jan Blachowicz did. But I mean, Khamzat might be the one, because he is a strong motherfucker and he is big for the division. So you never know. But interesting enough, this is Izzy against Jared Cannonier, who he's fought and beat before. And Jared Cannonier is actually the backup fighter who is in Australia right now to weigh in and serve as the backup for this fight in case somebody gets hurt or has to drop out for whatever reason. The UFC seems to be doing this a lot more often lately, getting those backup fighters and having them ready just in case something goes down and something has to be canceled, or, you know, somebody has to drop out for whatever reason. But Jared Cannonier has actually fought both these guys and lost against Izzy, but beat the clown, this guy, Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland is talented. He does have good striking. Apparently he's a good wrestler. We just haven't really seen it. But I don't think he's any match right now for Izzy in the state that he's in. He talks a big game and says he'll beat the shit out of everybody and anybody and blah, 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 blah. He's got good striking. We've seen it before. But let's see. Let's look at his record. He's 27-5 overall in MMA. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, which at least he's on a win streak get this title shot right now. Izzy tells him to thank him all the time for giving him this opportunity. But he's got his last win against Abu Sufyan Magomedov, and a win against Nasruddin Imavov. Just like Sean, who do you think won in the Cannonier versus Strickland fight? Oh, I definitely think that see, Cannonier Strickland. Trying to remember. That one was tough, but I feel like Cannonier won. I'm trying to remember. Too many fucking fights in my head. It was a split decision. Yeah, that was December last year. Trying to bring it back up in my memory here. I do feel like it was tough to call, but I want to say just with the strikes that were landed for Cannonier, I feel like he edged it out. I mean, I think the split decision was the right way to go. But I mean, it was tough. Unfortunately, I have to give Sean Strickland a little bit of credit there, because Jared Cannonier is a beast. He's a big dude, and when he lands hard. And so does Sean Strickland though. But I mean, if you look at them side by side comparatively, you would be like, Cannonier is gonna beat his ass. But you know, looks aren't everything when it comes to this game. It's the talent, it's the skill, and but yeah, I think the decision was correct. To be a split decision, especially, you know, it was a close fight, but I feel like it went the right way. Maybe that's bias of me because I don't like Strickland, but I feel like it was a good call. So yeah, and just like I was saying, because I'm an asshole, I mean, this is what happened when he fought Alex Pereira. But the reason why I brought this up is because he said, hey, it might serve me well to wrestle and grapple against Pereira, because that's something that he is not great at. But instead, he chose to stand and bang with him, and he paid dearly for that, even with Izzy warning him, telling him that that was not a smart move and that he should be focusing on capitalizing on Pereira's weaknesses. And instead, he decided to stand and fight him toe to toe, and wound up out cold, just like this. So I feel like with the state that things are in between these two right now, I feel like this might be what happens again to Strickland, because I feel like Izzy wants to show up and show out and do something fantastic for the crowd. So, and like I said, got beat by Cannonier as well, who is the backup fighter, so I had to show this one just because I like watching Sean Strickland get hit. Maybe I'm a dick for that, but I don't care. It is what it is. I'm allowed to have my favorites. I'm allowed to have my favorites to hate. So Izzy for the win. I don't think there's any way Strickland beats him, but crazier things have happened, and we've seen a lot of change of hands with the belts lately, and a lot of upsets that we didn't, you know. Shevchenko, nobody ever thought that she was going to get beat, especially by somebody like Grasso. You know, Aljamain getting beat by Suga, that wasn't that far-fetched, but a lot of people were counting that as a easy win for Aljo. There's, you know, just a lot of changes of hands in belts this year, so this could be another one, but I don't think so. I think Adesanya has everything in his side right now to win this fight easily, but Sean Strickland has nothing to lose, so he's gonna put it all out there. I just think he's gonna come up short. He's not gonna fight smart. He's gonna feed right into what Adesanya is good at, and Izzy's gonna come out with the win. So that wraps it up. That's it for me. I went an hour 45. I didn't even think I'd go that long, but I appreciate I don't know on YouTube for I'm not saying I don't know. I'm just, that's the screen name. I don't know. But hey, thanks for joining in. A lot of great questions, a lot of good interaction. I appreciate it making me think. That's what it's all about. And I'm assuming he's got Strickland for the win, if that's what he's saying. So that's unfortunate. I'm sorry. Don't bet on it. Anyway, thanks again for joining in. I don't know. Thanks for the interaction and all the questions. Come back next week for a recap of UFC 293, and we'll preview whatever is going on the week after that. A lot of stuff always happening, so I got to get my stuff together in my head. I'm so focused on this fight this weekend, though. I can't wait. Enjoy the fights. Don't forget to come back next Thursday, 7 p.m. Arizona time. Make up for that. Hey, you know what? Subscribe, hit that notification bell. You'll always know when I'm live. Come back, same time, same place next week. As for me, I'm out. Have a good night. Appreciate the support. Peace.